Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. When I've got these headphones in and my hair's looking a bit crazy and already 4 people in the house, that means we have a guest. And also, my title probably gives it away too. Steelers Live, Pittsburgh Steelers Talk with Britzburgh. Owen, what's going on, mate? How are you?
I'm good, mate. G'day, mate. How's it going?
G'day, mate. Mate, it's been a long time. When's the last time you and I talked? Like 6 months ago? 8 months ago? I don't even know.
On YouTube, yeah, probably, man.
Yeah.
At least.
Last podcast might have been with the syndicate with Grid there and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Do you know what? I actually watched that back the other day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we'll be good.
we were brilliant. We were just awesome, man. I mean, let's face it, the syndicate's never been the same since, has it?
Well, at the moment they haven't got it. So the Steelers haven't got a host, but Grid just went and got a Charger one. So he's got 6 or 7 syndicates too, and he might be jumping in. He might be jumping in today and saying hello in the chat as well. So
nice one.
But he's doing really good over there. And I know you're doing well too. What other projects are you doing now? You're doing a soccer channel?
Soccer.
Is it soccer or football?
I know. We've got an American and Australian audience, so I'm going to call it soccer, which I will get lynched for back here in England. But yeah, I've been doing a soccer channel. My favourite team over in Britain is a Scottish team called Glasgow Rangers, and I've got over 5,000 subscribers on that channel at the moment. So yeah, that's doing really well.
That's pretty hectic. Jadon says court footy. We call footy. Like our football at National Rugby League, we call that footy. What do you call footy? Do you call footy rugby league?
What your so like your Manly Sea Eagles and Canberra? Yeah, rugby league.
Yeah, but do you call that footy?
No, just rugby league.
Okay, right. Soccer.
Soccer. It's called soccer. No, it's not. It's football.
So you're doing crazy things in life and YouTube now, back on Steelers Britzburgh Owen Steelers Nation UK.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wanted to get back into it, man. Just talk a bit of Steelers football. Just get back into doing it, man. Just start rebuilding the channel back up. It's slow going, but we'll get there.
What do you think has changed in that time? Because I feel like it's 2023 and 2024. I think going to be kind of merged together with some of the Kenny stuff and some of the offensive line stuff. What do you think's really changed in the last maybe 6 to 8 months in a big nutshell?
God, what's changed in the last 6 to 8 months? You know what? I think there seems to be now a new drive, I think, within the organization to change things. I think there really is a new drive, because I think previously there hadn't been, like to get to not be one and done in the playoffs all the time. That seems to be something that's coming through now from Mark Rooney II. As for anything else, Matt Canada's gone, thank God, ages ago. Thank God that happened. But what do we talk about now, Mark? We can't say fire Matt Canada anymore. What do we talk about?
At the moment, it's all quarterback talk. So we're gonna get into a lot of that kind of stuff. I know your feelings already on Kenny Pickett, so we'll go back and forth on that. But that's fine. We can all have different things. To me, with my Kenny Pickett stuff, I think I'm more seeing what the Steelers organization is going to do, and I don't care who's the quarterback. If it's Mason Rudolph, this guy. I am. Well, first of all, before I get your KP8 take, what is your overall, view on the rumors? I can't stand the rumors. I think they're just absolutely dumb. What do you reckon?
It's, you know what? It's classic. It's classic, isn't it? When a massive franchise, whether it's in any sport, needs someone for a key position, whether it's in soccer, it's a striker, whether it's baseball, it's a pitcher, whether it's I don't know what. Something, a center or something in the NBA. That's how little I know about basketball. Quarterback in the NFL, it causes the media to go into meltdown, because the media know that the moment they put out Steelers are interested in this quarterback, that quarterback, they know that Steeler Nation are going to go mad, going to click it, going to look at it, and it's going to pull everyone in. And that's why they do it. And some channels are really guilty of clickbaiting. We know that situation. Oh, yeah. And when you are perceived to need a quarterback, which we are perceived to need this quarterback, because since Ben's gone, we haven't really got or had that guy that is Ben Roethlisberger, and we're going to be linked with Fields and Wilson and Cousins and Tannehill Penix in the draft and trading up for this one, or JJ McCarthy falling to us, or Jaden Daniels for, and it just gets blown out of all proportion because it's us. Because we are such a massive franchise that are so well supported, not just across the whole of the USA, but across Mexico and Europe, and we are just a huge franchise. The media know that they're going to get people to click, so they're going to spin names, because the moment they write the Steelers are interested in Russell Wilson, the Steelers are favourites to land Kirk Cousins, the Steelers are going to get Justin Fields, they know Steeler Nation's going to click.
Yeah, and the thing to me is what annoys me the most is they act and say like the Pittsburgh Steelers are interested, not what you just said. They could be. So you'll see that the channels out there, the media out there will say, even Adam Schefter said it, that Mike Tomlin is interested. It's like, no, he just got a certain soundbite or a certain talking point that he linked him to Fields. You never hear it from the actual organization. Actually, it's really tough to do so, because the guys that we have is the Pittsburgh Steelers media. Some of them are good and okay, I feel like, and some of them are really horrible in the way how they do their job. But I know what I'm going off now is the Rooney conversation, the interview, the Mike Tomlin one. I believe they're trying to bring back Mason Rudolph, and they said that the quarterback number one is in the room right now, and the only guy we have left is Kenny Pickett. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett? I'm gonna probably sneeze. Hang on. I'm good now. I was gonna sneeze. What are your thoughts on Kenny Pickett?
So just before we got onto Kenny Pickett, I agree with you about that. In terms of like the media guys, that's why I listen to Chris Carter and to Dejan Kovacevic only, because those two guys only report what is actually coming out of the organization.
I agree with you.
What is facts? Dejan Kovacevic the other day did this brilliant Daily Shot where he talked about the quarterback situation, and he said, he says, people say, why don't you talk about Justin Fields? Why don't you talk about Russell Wilson? And what he said was, because I only report what is actual facts and out there. And he goes, at this moment in time, the facts are these, that the Steelers have got Kenny Pickett, the Steelers want Mason Rudolph back. They are the facts. That's it. That's the end of the story. And that's why I only really listen to him and to Chris Carter now, because they speak the truth. On Pickett, look, I really worry about Pickett and his future. I think that for me, watching him over the last two seasons, and obviously this season, his accuracy is not good. He misses open receivers, massively misses open receivers. His mechanics are not great. And when he came into the NFL, he was always described as having a really high floor but low ceiling. So the development was not really going to be there. For me, Pickett makes bad decisions. He hasn't got a deep ball. He can't, throw it down the field to the extent that even Mason Rudolph can. He just, to me, doesn't seem like anything other than a game manager. And he's just, I mean, look, my thoughts on Mason Rudolph, Mark. Mm-hmm. I would honestly rather see Mason start next year than Kenny.
And that's a big call, because I do know your Mason Rudolph thoughts. Now, here's a question though. I want to pitch to you though. Are you willing to give Kenny Pickett the one more year, and the third year is probably the final year, because like if he plays bad this year, fourth year probably not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So would not this be like the turning point of the last year, the last chance for Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, I mean, look, if this is the big thing, what I want to see, Mark, is I want to see a fair quarterback competition in training camp, right? Not the ridiculousness of the Trubisky, Pickett, Rudolph one that we had, in the past.
I agree with that. That was a made up competition. Like the way it was transcribed to us or whatever it may be. It was like, okay, there's going to be competition. Didn't happen. It was always going to be Mitch starting with that, and that's where it kind of that was a failure, and also Matt Canada was a failure too. And then Kenny Pickett came in after. They threw Mason under the bus. Then last year when they needed him, he played good football, got us to the playoff games. So really, you could have went to getting Mason Rudolph and playing him and letting Kenny Pickett sit for the year. Didn't happen, right? So I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah. So look, if it comes out that look, we do want. I know the organization want to re-sign Mason Rudolph. They've made that quite clear. Both Art Rooney has said that, and Mike Tomlin have both made it clear they want Mason back, right? I think if you listen to the wide receivers as well, if you listen to Deontay, if you listen to George Pickens, they want Mason back. I mean, Deontay even went as far as to say, I think there was that quote that he came out with, I hope he gets the job next year. So, it's quite clear that, Deontay is rooting for Mason. So if Mason comes back, and given the fact that Mason did play, like I said, my thoughts on Mason. I thought Mason played really well at the end of last season because the offense, to me, Mark, seemed to click. It seemed to have more of a threat. There was a deep ball there. It just seemed to work a whole lot better. And Rudolph, to me, seems to have got rid of all those little problems that we used to pick up for him. The pocket awareness, the happy feet. Mm-hmm. All those seem to have gone now, and he seems to have somehow ironed those out of his game. Look, I'm not saying that Mason Rudolph is the next coming of Ben Roethlisberger by any stretch of the imagination, but what I'm saying is, for me, he looks more solid as a quarterback going forward, and I just hope there's a fair competition, Mark. That's all I hope, that there's going to be a fair competition, and that the person who plays the best in preseason and in training camp actually gets the opportunity to start the season. And yes, I do know that preseason and training camp are nothing like real NFL football. and once the first 2 or 3 weeks over, we'll really know whether we've got the right quarterback at quarterback one.
It's interesting to hear you say, though, that, DJ does like Rudolph. This is what I kind of hate about the media. I think in this point, like when DJ says he likes Rudolph, wants him to start, it doesn't mean, in the way I see it, it wouldn't mean that he wouldn't want Kenny Pickett, he wouldn't cheer on Kenny Pickett. Do you know what I mean? They always make them divide, like this quarterback, that quarterback. So Deontay's choosing Mason Rudolph, right? And sure, you back him. Players are backing him fine. That's fantastic. But I guarantee you, when Kenny Pickett's starting, they're still going to try and back him as best they can. Maybe not as much as Rudolph or something like that, but they will try and back him. So I get what you're saying. I know what the players are saying too. The Roonies have talked about it. I did see there was the one article out there, the one video going around that Mason Rudolph wants a fresh start. I don't really believe in that too much. I believe in what the actual news was from DK and Ramon Foster show, where he did an hour conversation with Ramon Foster back and forth, talking about he wants to come back to Pittsburgh. However, he's also going to look around and look at his options. Now, when that report came out and said he wanted a fresh start, it doesn't mean he's canning off the Steelers. He's basically saying, I'm a free agent, and we'll see what happens. So they pretty... Yeah, did you see that one? Where they,
like I always watch DK. I always watch Ramon Foster, DK, Chris Carter, all very accurate in what they say and spot on, And I think you've got to respect Mason and look, if one of the other 31 teams comes to you, I mean, you put yourself in Mason's place for a minute. You're Mason Rudolph, right? Yep. And you come back to Pittsburgh, you've got to compete with Kenny Pickett to get QB1. But say, the New England Patriots or another quarterback needy team, the Denver Broncos, come to you and say, Mark, you're going to be our QB1 from week one. You're not going to go, well, no, actually, I want to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers because of this, are you? You're not. That's what
I'd say. How much and when?
Yeah, exactly.
How much and when?
He wants to be a QB1, doesn't he? At the end of the day, he wants to start. And part of him may even think, well, why have I got to compete? Because I've just shown you in the last 4 games where it was really on the line, when the pressure was really on, I've shown you that I can do it. Why are you making me compete?
Yeah, Donald Nolan says here, the Mason interview on DK Sports was great. Good to see Mason have his moment in the limelight, and also showed his story too. But then a lot of guys wouldn't go and see that overall interview and then speculate where he's going to go. But I think with the Mason stuff here, I do believe the Steelers want to bring him back, and I do believe he wants to come back. But you're right, at the right price. Now, if another team offers him a big contract for a 3-year deal and lots of money, he's going to sign that contract because he wants to get be successful and also have a quarterback number 1 job. So. And then the one worrying point, I think, and you've hit the nail on the head too, is if they bring him back and there's no real true competition that we can actually see where we know he's playing better from our eyes, from the coaches, from the scouts or whoever the sources over there, Pittsburgh media, and we know it's Mason Rudolph, they still go with Kenny Pickett. Do you think that would annoy the fan base?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you just got to look at the fan base and what they're saying, and look, I know. The only place we can kind of find out what they're saying is social media. And I know that social media is a poisonous place, but it does seem that you look at that, the vast majority of Steelers fans on social media are saying they want Mason Rudolph to start. And I think if it's not seen to be another, if it's seen to be another dog and pony show like it was previously, Steelers Nation will be up in arms about it. And Tomlin is in a difficult position this year because of the fact that there is, whether you like Tomlin, hate Tomlin, don't really care. If he starts Pickett over Rudolph and it all goes wrong at the start of the season, you know, and we're 1-3 going in, you know, whatever, the pressure is going to be ramped right up. And it's a difficult one, of course it is. And I'm glad I haven't got to make a decision, Mark, but I think Steelers Nation will be up in the arm. People will be up in arms, and it will be a very toxic atmosphere at Acrisure Stadium.
What's the reason then? What do you think? Well, you know, of course, that Trubisky was a bad player, but what's one of the reasons you think that Trubisky was let go and they didn't keep him?
I think number one, like you said, he was just awful. I mean, absolutely dreadful. I mean, the guy was interceptions galore, couldn't run the offense. He was just a poor all-round player. But I think another reason he was probably let go was the fact that, I think, what was he on, $6 million a year? Can you really afford to pay a backup quarterback of that much money? No, you can't. And you know, combined with his appalling play, he had to be let go. He had to be cut. I can't see him ever becoming a star in the NFL again. He just isn't good enough. And what's frightening is the fact that he was taken above Patrick Mahomes in his draft year that year.
Does that mean as well? So when they let him go, does that mean that the Steelers are going trying to replace him at third quarterback or replace him at second quarterback?
Do you know what? I honestly don't know with what's been said. I mean, there's just so much swilling around out there, isn't it? I think we do need to bring in an experienced veteran to some degree. Whether that's Rudolph or someone else. And I think they'll draft someone. I think they'll bring someone as a third stringer who they'll draft somebody. You know, there's plenty of decent quarterbacks out there you could probably get in later rounds. I like Sam Hartman. He's a decent guy. You know, he probably got in this 5th or 6th round. I think they'll draft someone to be the third string quarterback behind. I think the plan is for Kenny and Mason. If they don't get Mason, I don't know what their plan B is. I don't. You know, that's why there's all this media speculation about Tannehill. There was obviously the big one today is that Chad Johnson's come out and said,
I saw that one.
The Steelers want Russell Wilson.
How does he know?
A little bird told him.
What little bird? Crazy mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Chad Okosinko.
Oh yeah, I just think. Yeah,
I just find it funny. Like, I know that yes, the media portrayal right now is like the Steelers need a quarterback, which we do. But I understand that Kenny has had some, like, you know, some really tough times and not being playing the best quarterback. He's rated like 33 out of 32 quarterbacks, right? He's been playing really bad. But I always go back to what are the Steelers going to do? And what it looks like is the Steelers are going to go with Kenny and, like you said, find a QB2, probably go into the draft. You know what I mean? No one's talking about that. They're all talking about the trades. They're talking about this, whatever. And Okosinko's got like a little birdie on his shoulder. I want to bring something up though, because we mentioned Trubisky. I don't know if you saw in the news today, and I might cover this in another video straight after, because this is what at this time of year really bugs me and really pisses me off. So there's a few tweets here and like quotes and stuff like that from different sources out there. It says apparently the Steelers treated Trubisky poorly from the second they drafted Pickett, forcing him to send a welcome text. Have you heard about that story yet?
No, I haven't heard that actually. No.
So basically, and I'm going to cover the video on it because I got some snippets, some ideas, and some articles. They're saying that the Steelers media is saying that Trubisky was forced to send a welcome text because it was via Jerry Dulac, right? Yeah. And I read the quote, and the quote pretty much says, "By the way, can you send, hey Trubisky, knock on the door? Can you please send Pickett a welcome text?" And they're saying that they've forced him to do so, and I'm like, the way the media uses all the words really grinds my gears. Like, if you came into like my job and my boss said to me, "Can you please send Owen a welcome text?" I'm like, "Sure, that's all right, that's fine." It's not putting you under the bus, not putting pressure on me. It's not putting pressure on anyone. So I don't know, man. At this time of year, I'm kind of keen to get like the scouting combine, the draft. I want to see the Steelers. Like, I think once we sign one quarterback, like just one, I think things will start to work out, right? If we sign a QB2, do you think it'll be a bit more easy, a bit more less pressure on this whole quarterback situation?
Oh yeah, once it's done and dusted, that's it. You know, it hopefully will all settle down and we can focus on actually building the roster that we need and putting together bringing in the players that we actually do genuinely need. Look, in terms of quarterbacks, look, I don't think quarterback's the biggest priority at this moment in time. I think you can, with the right system, you can get by with an average quarterback. You can. I mean, the 49ers have proved that this year. Nothing against Brock Purdy, but the guy's not an elite quality NFL quarterback. But Shanahan designs a system that works and that makes him look good. And I think you can get by with Rudolph or Pickett if we fill all the other needs on this team. And that's what we've got to do. And we just need the quarterback talk to just settle down.
You want to hope so. We're gonna talk about some other stuff too, but I want to shout out Pittsburgh Toddy here. Ocho's been talking to the pigeons.
Maybe
that's his little birdie.
Birdie. Well, there was always those pigeons, wasn't there? On the pitch.
There was a time where we were like 3-0 or something with them on the field there.
The pigeons, man.
I don't know.
Where'd they go?
I have no idea.
We need the pigeons back.
Maybe they need. I even saw there's a Twitter account that got created by the pigeons too. I don't know how that happened too. But you bring up a good point, right? So quarterback talk. We've been talking about for 20 minutes, right? That's been dominating the headlines all over. Kenny Pickett is there. I know your thoughts on him, and I agree with your thoughts that he is not the best player, but I still think that Steelers are going to try and go with him into the new season. What are your thoughts on the Arthur Smith, hiring from the Falcons ex-head coach and Titans OC in the past? What about him? And we'll start from there.
In terms of Arthur Smith, I think he fits the system that we want to bring in. He fits what we want to do. He established a run first offense with play action built into it in Tennessee, because obviously he had Derrick Henry there, King Henry, who was just awesome. So
he's unreal, isn't he? He's unbelievable.
And the other thing I think is that he made Tannehill look like a decent quarterback. And I think, you've got with the greatest of respect to Ryan Tannehill, he's not a good quarterback. He's a very average quarterback. But the system that Arthur Smith put in place made him look good. And I think that's what the Steelers want next year, is him to come in, put in a ground and pound offense that's going to smash the ball up the middle. It's going to, with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, he's going to pound the ball. Then that will obviously open the spaces to throw the ball deep to Deontay, to Judge Pickens. And the other good thing that he does is that he throws over the middle, which will be a revelation. And obviously, hopefully having Pat fit all of next year, Pat thrives on getting the ball over the middle. And I think he's someone who been brought in because he suits our players. He suits the players we've got. And, that's why they've hired him at the end of the day.
All right, yeah. What about some, we talked about some moves there from being quarterback talk. What about some moves on the O-line? What do the Steelers do in the upcoming, we're almost near the free agent period, and the next we've got the draft. So what's going to happen with the O-line there? Who's going to be, starting, leaving? Trooks is gone, by the way. As you know, Trooks is gone. So do they move on from Mason Cole? Do they go and get a right tackle?
So personally speaking, I think, like I said, and obviously listening to guys in the know, guys around the organization, like Chris Carter, like Dayan, I think Broderick Jones has got to go back to left tackle. That's why you brought the guy. That's why you brought the guy in. He's a franchise left tackle. He's a beast, and it's no surprise that the running game got going, and we looked better when Broderick Jones was on the field. So for me, you put Jones back to left tackle. Isaac Seumalo is a left guard. James Daniels is your right guard. But you go out and you get a center and you get a right tackle in the draft or in free agency, wherever you can get them. Now, there's two decent, really good centers in the draft, Jackson Powers-Johnson and Zach Frazier. So one's a first rounder, one's a second rounder. So, if they were to go for someone like Mims or Latham as a tackle in the first round, then obviously you could probably go for Zach Frazier in the second round. So that's what we need to do. We need to bring in a right tackle. We need to bring in a center. Look, Mason Cole, nothing against Mason Cole. I love Mason Cole. He's a great guy, lovely guy. But to me, last season, he whiffed on blocks. He missed so many blocks. And also, not just that, some of his snaps were just awful.
Snaps were awful.
He's not good enough at the end of the day to be a starting center in the NFL. So that's why we need. I think we keep Cole as a backup guard, but I don't think he can be the starter. I think we've got to go out and even, like I said, in free agency or in the draft, we get a center and we get a tackle. And I think other teams have proven that if you go out and get someone in the draft who is a top quality center, it helps you. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the best lines. Their anchor of their line is Creed Humphrey, who we missed out on in the draft. Tyler Linderbaum with the Baltimore Ravens. I don't hate praising the Ravens, but look, Linderbaum has done a great job with the Ravens. Again, drafted in the first round. So the proof that if you do go out and get these guys in the draft, they can be successful in the NFL, especially if they've got a good background coming out of college.
Do you reckon as well? So I feel like the Steelers are going to try and, revamp or retool the O-line. You reckon the O-line gets bigger this year and better with they've got Daniels, Jones, Ciamalo. Maybe they draft some blokes then, and then maybe next year they go towards a quarterback. Do you think this year's building the O-line?
Yeah, I think it's 100%. I just think that, to me, Mark, there's too many needs in this team, and I don't buy into the philosophy with one player away from becoming a Super Bowl champion.
Neither do I. I heard that as well. There was a few articles out there saying if we get a Russell Wilson, we're going to go Super Bowl. I'm like, no, we got to build the pieces back up. We're doing okay to get 10 wins, but it's like we're not one. We're build the O line and then see what happens out of that. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. So I mean, I look at the team now, and I honestly think we need a center, we need a right tackle, we need a cornerback, someone to play alongside JPJ. I mean, JPJ is fantastic, isn't he? I mean, I've heard some great things. What was it? Someone said 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water. The rest is covered by Joey Porter Jr.
He did really well, didn't he? When you think about it, he did really well. He was covering the number ones. He was covering Diggs. He covered Diggs? We played Bills, right? Yeah, Diggs and stuff like that. Yeah, he was doing really well.
He's done brilliantly. So we need another cornerback. We need a safety to play alongside Minka, because Minka wasn't being used right last season. He was being far too many times. He was being pushed up into the box. He was being used in run support. He wasn't given. Minka Fitzpatrick is awesome at that free roaming, being a ball hawk in the center of the field. But he couldn't do that last year because there was, and the player that I think one of the players we missed big time. And I know a lot of Steeler fans don't agree with me on this, but I really Terrell Edmonds. Yeah, we missed Terrell last year.
He's a free agent now. He might have a chance to get him back.
Yeah, so maybe. Yeah, I'd have him back tomorrow. I just think him and Minka together are a team. And Terrell Edmonds, I think, was underestimated for what he did, for what he allowed Minka to do. So I think we need a safety. I think we need another wide receiver. I think there's a lot of positions we need to address first before we go after quarterback. And I think you're right, Mark. People saying, "Oh, we're Russell Wilson away from winning a Super Bowl." No, we're not. We're not Russell Wilson away from winning a Super Bowl.
I don't think Russell Wilson is away from a Super Bowl. I think he's kind of done. Our mate Gage from the Syndicate. I think he didn't do very well in Denver as well. No. Why does he need to be the savior? Why does Justin Fields need to be the savior? He's got the most fumbles and interceptions here and there, and people talk about Kenny Pickett running out of the pocket. So does Fields. I think we're in this standpoint. I think we're going to go O-line, get some guys, cornerback, maybe get a safety. Maybe you do bring back Terrell Evans. I don't know. He played for the Eagles, right?
He did. Yeah,
to the Titans, and then they traded him to the Eagles or something. Can't remember.
No, he played for he was free agent. He went to the Eagles, didn't he? Then at the start of last season, I think.
I thought he went to two teams. I thought he went to Titans and Eagles. He might have done both. But in any case, you didn't hear from him in the NFL once he kind of left. And the way he played next to Minka was awesome. And you're right. Minka was fantastic into his, not rookie year with us, when he started with us. In the first, 5 games, he had turnovers, interceptions, all this kind of stuff happening. And now last year, he was playing that role was, 1 year, Minka was the leading tackler. They need him to free him up more. Would you see a chance of Patrick Peterson playing next to him? Or not?
No, I think Peterson's gone. I think
really.
I think reading and listening to what people are saying, like I said, insiders are saying, I think Peterson will be cut. I think he's a $9 million cap hit. His tackling's not. He's not a good enough tackler to play safety. He's not as quick as he used to be. I think he'll be gone. I think the Steelers need to clear up more cap space. So the latest rumors and latest talk seems to be, or reports, I prefer the word reports, is that him and Allen Robinson will both be cut.
Yes, I think that Robinson will be cut too. I looked at his number and I went to his the spot track. You know what he's getting?
11 million, isn't it?
Yeah, 6% of the Steelers cap. Like he's the 7th highest. So, and there's nothing against him. I just think he's in a bad position getting that much money for being that kind of player. You know what I mean? He did okay down the stretch, had a few catches here and there, but in the offense with Kenny Pickett and Trubisky, nothing really moved. And then also with this like Smith offense, I've heard reports, like you said, or ideas or articles I've read too, is that they only really use 2 receivers, and the rest of them they use like tight ends and they use running backs too. So they're gonna focus more on Najee Harris and Warren. You know what I'm saying? So Daredevil thinks Wallace is gone before P2. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's a good chance that's another one of her. I think we'll see a major restructuring in the cornerback room. I really do. I think Peterson needs to go. He's only going to get slower this year. Look, I mean, he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's a decent guy. And yeah, he did lead as Pittsburgh obviously led the team in defensive snaps. And yeah, he can play in a number of positions. But I just think, look, we all know that as we get older, we slow down, and he's only going to get slower. He's not going to get quicker. He's not going to. Yeah. He's not going to improve over the next 6 months, 8 months, whatever. He's just going to get slower. His tackling is not going to get any better. That's just life. That's just what football is. As you get older, you can't do what you did when you were 24, 25. You just can't do it anymore. Nothing against Patrick Peterson. It's just his body won't let him do it. And let's face it, football it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. I mean, you can only imagine the battering he's taken over the however many years it is now he's been in the NFL. So I think we'll see JPJ, Corey Trice obviously will be back next year. I think they'll go out and get, like I said, I think even I can see them either doubling down in the draft or taking one free agent cornerback. This cornerback class apparently is really, really deep this year as well, right down into sort of even to the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. You can still get really good cornerbacks. So I can see them taking one in the draft, and I can see them taking one in free agency. I do think that I think he'll be gone.
Tony makes a good point though. He says he's slow at outside corner but fast as a slot or safety, you know? So what if the Steelers were to go and get a cornerback in the draft, like 2nd round, something like that? Would you not want to bring in Peterson to be that mentor guy and who can play the game, who reads the game maybe at a slower pace but knows how to play?
Yeah, I mean, fine. But they've got to restructure his contract because they can't be paying someone like him $9 million. I mean, that's a lot of the cap he's taking up. Look, if that's what Omar Khan decides, then great. Go with what I think someone said in the live chat, trust Khan. You've got to trust Omar Khan. The guy makes all the right moves at the right time. I mean, I heard I can't remember who was talking about this, whether it was Motzi or someone was saying that at the end of the day, you've got to give him credit for the Steelers getting into the playoffs. Why? Because he was the person who went out and got Rudolph back. And it was Rudolph that got us into the playoffs. So technically, Omar Khan is responsible for getting us into the playoffs. So you've got to trust him, and that he decides that he wants to keep Peterson, he wants to restructure, go with what he thinks. He's the guy in the know.
Well, Omar Khan got us Marlowe, right? You know, guys like that too. So Omar Khan got us the middle linebacker, and we don't lose Holcomb or Quan Alexander was having almost like a career year. He was going off the way he was hitting. That was a bit of a big hole. And I know Atlanta Roberts, he played fantastic. I give him a shout every time. He was his tackling machine, like 110 tackles out there, trying his hardest, getting people set. So we lost the middle linebacker room. So Omar Khan did very well getting those 3 blokes. And that time last year, people were like, "What? Who's Holcomb? You know, who's this guy? Oh, Quan's back? Okay." But they I hope. Do you think Quan's back? Because he's also a free agent too. Is he back or not?
I would love to get him back. I think if we could get all those 3 guys back and all those 3 guys fit, it takes away the need for us to go out and get anyone in the inside linebacker. And those 3 guys were fantastic. And like you said, those 3 guys stay fit. I think we probably beat the Bills. I think we probably go further in the playoffs because they were fantastic all season. You know, but when we lose them and when we lost Alexander, we lost Holcomb. It's a huge gap to fill. And practice squad guys, with the greatest respect to the likes of Walker, etc., they're just not in the same class as Quan Alexander. And yes, I would love Quan Alexander to come back. A lot obviously will depend on what he's looking for.
It was pretty fun though watching Death Row, Eric Rowe, and also Miles Jack come back to the Steelers too. Another credit to the the coaching staff and also Omar Khan that they went and got the guys off the street, off the couch, as Tomlin said. And the next minute, Death Row out there, Eric Rowe been playing safety for 7 years or whatever, played good football, So it just hurt us with injuries. It also hurt us with TJ. Before we're gonna wrap up the show in about 5 minutes. What are your thoughts? Because I know it's been a long time since we chat. What are your thoughts about TJ Watt missing Defensive Player of the Year?
It's a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take as well, Mark, you mean Miles Jack had more sacks in the last 7 games of the season than Miles Garrett? I mean, I can't remember.
Well, they don't count. They don't count. Remember, you got to have pass, rush, win rate. It counts.
That's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, there was a great stat. There was a great comparison chart came out between TJ and Miles Garrett. And I think Garrett and TJ were tied on one category. It was forced fumbles, 4 and 4.
Yeah.
TJ was miles ahead in every category. I mean, to be honest with you, if someone like Max Crosby had won Defensive Player of the Year, if Micah Parsons, who was an idiot, had won Defensive Player of the Year, I could have lived with that a little bit more than Miles Garrett, because at least those guys were in the top 5 in most categories. Miles Garrett was 7th, 8th in most categories. And
I could live with.
To be honest with you, mate, it looked rigged, because it seemed to be at the start of the season they were talking about this is the year for Miles Garrett to win Defensive Player of the Year. And I'll tell you something, right, guys in the live chat. For those of you who are in states where you're allowed to bet, go out and put your money on Micah Parsons winning Defensive Player of the Year next year.
Yeah, because he'll be next, right?
Yeah, it's his turn.
Yeah, that's how they're doing it now. Yeah, it's a bit rigged like that, and I say a bit. It probably is rigged because they had put up a tweet that on NFL.com saying, "Here's your depoy with a picture." And I would honestly, I would have been okay if they gave it to Darren Bland. He got 6 TDs from interceptions, 9 TDs in total for the Cowboys. I think I've even said as a joke that I would rather give it to Bobby Wagner because he had 185 tackles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Then what happened to Myles Garrett and that business. So, I just want to get your thoughts on that. And it's what I think every single Steel fan is still pissed off and annoyed about that. But you're right. We can't control that aspect because they're almost pushed that narrative into our face the whole time. And it was always going to be Myles Garrett. And it's like that. I love that. I love that comment too. Holy accents. That's so funny. You got the Australian and the UK bloke talking American football. What's your time now? It's almost 11 p.m., right?
20 to midnight.
It's my 10:40 a.m. and in America it's 6 p.m. Yeah. I kind of forget. I've been doing so long. I kind of forget about that stuff. I kind of forget. But yeah, I would have been okay with someone else like getting the depoy, but they were lining up him from a mile away, Myles Garrett away, right? And also too, they were probably hoping he'd have a better last 7 games, which he didn't. And also the playoff game, like the Browns got beat down 48 to 14.
But
come on.
I mean, and you know what? What gets me, Mark, and look, I know what people say, and I know what the wider NFL media will say, and what the wider NFL fan base will say, and what the Dirty Browns will say. Oh yeah, but you're Steelers, you're bound to say that. But I'm not being funny. How the hell did they win so many awards at the end of the season? Yet they didn't win the division. They got absolutely smashed in the playoffs by the Texans, who hadn't won a playoff game since, I think, the 90s. And yet their coach is coach of the year. Yet they've got, was it Jim Schwartz won an award as well, assistant coach of the year. And one of the biggest ones for me, Mark, is Joe Flacco, comeback player of the year.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but Damar Hamlin died and came back from the dead. He came back from the dead. He was dead, and he came back from the dead and played. I'm sure that's a bigger comeback. I
think even Joe said it himself. He's like, oh, "Why am I comeback player of the year? Because I was out for a year or two. I was like not playing, and now I saw one the other day that Jack Flacco was also rumored. Here it is. Here, I couldn't believe this. Zach Gelb is like another bloke on YouTube, right? But he said Jack Flacco would be a good name for the Steelers to pursue this offseason to compete with Kenny Pickett. No.
No,
not
a chance.
We're not getting a Raven and a Brown as well. Yeah. Not happening. And it's funny because the Browns fans love Joe Flacco. I'm like, that dude beat you. Why would you like him to be on your team? You know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't really see it. But no, you're right. I think that was also another betting thing I think was kind of rigged because most of the public was going for Damar Hamlin because he survived death.
Yeah.
Right. He came back from the dead. and Joe Flacco came off the couch and said, "Oh, I'm here to play." But then you go to that game last year, the Texans, they beat them 45-14. Joe Flacco was 300 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, looked awful. Stroud went off 3 TDs. They couldn't run the ball. Rushing was 56 yards. And yes, you give the coach of the year to Stefanski when the coach of the year should have went to the Lions coach because he went further, or at least going toward D'Amico Ryans in his first year, getting the Texans back in. And by the way, the Texans will be a good team if they draft well again because CJ Stroud, he's a good quarterback. And some of their receivers too. One of the receivers I really liked last year, what's his name? Was Nico Collins. I thought he played really well too. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely. So I agree. Dan Campbell should have been coach of the year. That guy took a team, again, like the Detroit Lions, who have historically struggled to realistically, they should have gone to the Super Bowl for me. They should have gone to the Super Bowl, I think, Dan Campbell, and should have got it. It just makes no sense that it's almost like the NFL media are desperate for Cleveland to win a Super Bowl. They're absolutely desperate for it.
Well, they're trying to push them that way because the voting also stops like regular season. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it doesn't go into the postseason. That's why Micah Parsons went non-existent. He was out. He was Gonski's, and then Myles Garrett, you didn't see him once. Like he got like I think 0 tackles or maybe 1 tackle. I think in that game. You know what I mean? But that's why I laugh all the time, man. We're going to get out of here very shortly, and we'll plug your stuff at the end. But like the Bengals, they've never won one. Been 58 years. The Browns, they've never won one in their teams because they were the Ravens went somewhere in 1999, or the new Browns in 1999 never won one. They won a championship back in 1958. That's why I laugh because it's like you can have that stuff. You can get it rigged to win Depoy of the Year, get all the awards, but what have you done? You've beaten the only playoff game they won in 35 years or 30 years is versus the Steelers when it all went south when Big Ben threw the ball over. Sorry, Maurkice Pouncey threw the ball over his head.
Yeah,
and then bloody Connor and Big Ben went, "Do you want it? Do you want to pick it up?" So we'll get back there. I think we'll get back there. But hey, Owen, thanks, mate, for coming on the show. I know you got to head to bed shortly and stuff like that, being over in near midnight. The NFL wants the Browns of the 50s back. Not Browns. No, we still own them. But do you want to give a shout out to your channel, and then we'll do some final thoughts?
Yeah, man. Just back now, Britzburgh, Owen-Steeler Nation UK, bringing you the British voice from on our heroes in black and gold, man. Just everything.
Over the ditch. What are you over the
pond?
Over the pond.
Pond, yeah.
And Roddy, what are your final thoughts? What's the next move you see the Steelers doing? Because it's been pretty quiet in the news aspect.
Next, you know what? I think next thing we need to do is just put this quarterback nonsense down, re-sign Mason, get it done, get him signed, reassure him that there's going to be a fair quarterback competition, bring him back in, let him compete against Kenny. Let's see who wins, and then take it from there and get on and just basically let Omar Khan get on with doing what Omar Khan does best, which is building a roster that is capable of starting to compete. Look, I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, but at least let's get to the playoffs and win a playoff game, and then we'll take it from there and we'll build, because that'll start to build some more confidence in the team.
It would be fun if the Steelers go and sign him for a 2-year contract, maybe a 3 or something similar, right? And then Rudolph does win the position, and he's quarterback number 1, week 1. I think a lot of hype would be around the way they ended last year. And then Kenny Pickett, he'd sit back, be the backup, and then you figure out that then years to go. But if Mason Rudolph was the guy for the next 2 or 3 years, it'd be kind of exciting, I think, to weigh how they ended. Because I think Trubisky was 14.5 score per game. Yeah. Kenny Pickett was 17. Mason Rudolph, when he played, 31 or 30, something like that. The team just lifted behind him. You saw Mason Rudolph to Pickens, that nice play for 70 yards. You saw him stand in the pocket, get hit. You saw him, take control. You saw it in the interviews. He was pretty calm, collected. You saw the interview with Ramon Foster. Everything about him was like, Pittsburgh, we kind of missed a guy there, or they weren't playing him. But now it's like on the outside, he might be looking for somewhere else. But if he comes back, you're right, with a fair competition, like you said, because if it's not fair and he does play better from our eyes or the Steelers media eyes or anyone who's around the building, then that's going to annoy the Steelers fans. And they won't have as much trust that people have with Tomlin or don't have with him. It will go even less because you're like, well, he should have won that job. And there's a lot of stuff. So maybe they'll work something out. They'll bring him in. They'll make it seem like it's a competition. Mason Rudolph wins 1-2, get a guy on the draft, and then see what happens. Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited, mate. I'm keen. Thank you, old mate, for coming on the show. It's fantastic. We'll have to do this again in the future for sure. Check out Britzburgh Owens. Type in Britzburgh Owen on YouTube. His show will come up. Pretty much does daily videos every single day. He's going crazy. He's doing Ranger stuff too with soccer as well.
Soccer.
All that kind of stuff. Good talking to you again, man. And yeah, we're just going to wait it out. We're in February. So enjoy each day. I saw a post there was like, oh, the season is 184 days away. Don't wish them away because it goes too quick. But we're back to football in about 2 months' time. So, like the draft and that kind of stuff. Yeah. All righty. Thanks. Oh, mate, I'll see you guys later. Hooroo.
Good day, mate.